Hi everybody, it's time for a new cooking lesson. Today I'm going to show you how to make omelets. Now some of you have seen this before, but it's good to have a refresher and you can try it at home. Okay, I've set up my computer by the stove on a music stand pointing down so you can see into the pot or the pan. Okay, I'm going to stand back up. I'm kind of hunched over like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So here I go. All right. So the equipment you need for this omelet making is a pan shaped like this with sloping sides. Now you can also, if you don't have that kind of pan, you can do it in a little cast iron skillet. Actually works pretty well. Now the diameter, I would say this is about 6 or 7 inches. That's for 3 eggs. That makes for a 3-egg omelet. This one is a bit smaller, and you can get away with a 2-egg omelet. So most omelet pans, here is another omelet-shaped pan with sloping sides. This one is steel lined with stainless steel. That's also good. Now, before you make an omelet, you need to season your pan. It's very simple. You put some oil in it, and you can see I've covered the bottom with oil, and heat it up till it just starts smoking, and then turn down the heat and let it turn it down to a low heat and let it sit for about 3-4 minutes, and then you can turn the pan off, let it cool, and wipe the oil out. Okay. So I'm going to wipe the oil out with a paper towel. Can you see that? Okay, so you leave a bit of film on there, and that should be ready to go. Now I started heating my pan up because you want to heat it before you put any more oil into it. So the equipment you need is, and going back to that, you need a dinner fork with long tines, like a good size regular fork. And you need, let me just get this out of the way. You can use a whisk to whisk the eggs. You can also just use the fork if you don't have a whisk. Okay, so you need, and the ingredients you need are eggs, obviously, and a filling of your choice. I'm showing you how to make a cheese omelet. This is some grated mozzarella cheese. So you'll need to grate up some cheese. You can use cheddar cheese, you can use Swiss cheese, you can use provolone. Okay, Parmesan might be a bit strong, but you could use a little Parmesan in with your mozzarella or with your cheddar or Swiss to give it a little more sharpness. Okay, so I'm heating that pan up at a moderate heat for now, and here I go. I'm going to show you doing everything on the stove so you can see it. I have a bowl here, and tap, tap, tap. I crack the egg in. I'm going to go with 3 eggs. Tap, tap, tap. There we go. And tap, tap, tap. 3 eggs. Okay, there we have it. So now we're going to whisk those up. Different ways to whisk. One way is to hold your hand like this. You can tilt the bowl so the eggs are a little deeper, and use your wrist. And you're sort of going in a little circle like this. You see that? All right, if you don't have a whisk, with the fork, you do the same thing. You're going to, it's a little hard for you to see maybe into it. You're going to go in a circle like that. And you try to get some speed up so it gets nice and smooth. Okay, so there's the egg. And now, typically in an omelet, this omelet that I'm showing you is a French-style omelet. There are many different ways to make an omelet, but an omelet is a French word, and it is a French invention. And this, I'm going to show you the real way to make an omelet, okay? But there are other ways, and I don't discount them, but this way is very good. The French know what they're doing. So if you just have a plain omelet or a plain omelet with cheese, usually you put a little bit of nutmeg. Now I'm going to show you a good pinch of nutmeg there. You see, it's not, I would say it might be 1/8 of a teaspoon, which is 1/2 of a quarter. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle that in. And the other thing you usually put in is a pinch of cayenne pepper. Now, cayenne pepper is the very hot pepper, but you're putting in such a small amount that it really just gives a hint of spice. So you see, I just pinched it and sprinkled it in. You can see it's just a tiny bit. Okay, I'm going to put the lid on that, put it to the side, and now I'm going to beat the egg again. Okay, and now I'm going to make sure my pan is hot enough. And I'm going to show you now the way you make an omelet is the pan is very hot. You put the eggs in. Once the pan is hot, you're going to be putting oil. We're going to use oil at first in the omelet pan. And then we might finish with a little butter to give it a buttery flavor. But I can get the oil much hotter than butter, which will burn very quickly at a very high heat. So you're going to use a very high heat. That's why I'm preheating my pan without even any oil in it. All right, so once the eggs go in, you're going to hold the fork like this, and you're going to hold the pan like this, the pan handle. You're going to go back and forth quickly with the handle, and at the same time you're going to stir like this. So I'm going to slow the motion down. You see what it is? It's like that. Now the reason you do that is the pan is very hot, and if you didn't move the pan quickly, the egg would get tough and actually start burning. What you're doing is it's almost like stir frying, because you're introducing other parts of the egg to the bottom of the pan and introducing air so that it's very fluffy. Now, typically, a French omelet is a bit moist in the middle. That's desirable. If you don't like that, then you can always take a spatula and flip the omelet onto the more raw side and cook that a little bit and then add your cheese. Okay, I'm going to go over this because in the heat of the moment, I want you to see. So once the egg is set, so once it's done to the amount you want, you've shaken and stirred, it's going to take very quick, less than a minute. What you want to do is take the pan and put it on a cool burner, because if you leave it there even for a little while, it's going to brown and begin to burn. So you want to take it off the heat. Then you can take your time. You're going to add your cheese in the middle at a right angle, or not along the handle, but opposite the handle, in a line. Then what you're going to do is you're going to tilt the pan, so you're tilting it away from you like this. That's because you're going to get under the lip of the omelet on this side, on the handle side, and roll it over or fold it over. And you can really tilt the pan a lot. This pan has a very high brim, okay? So you're going to tilt the pan and roll it, and it's going to lay in this part of the this part of the pan, On the rim, it's going to, and then what you're going to do is you have your plate nearby. You don't run and get your plate because you'll give it a little heat because you see I put it back. Now look at the way I'm gripping it now. You're going to go under the handle like this. That's the way you do it. Now you're going to take your plate and you have your omelet sitting there. You're going to invert or turn upside down the omelet pan onto the plate, okay? And then I'll show you, you can actually shape the omelet on the plate itself if it doesn't come out as nice as you'd like. Okay, so we're going to get started. I've heated my pan. I'm going to turn up the heat, and I'm going to put about 2 tablespoon and a half, or 2 tablespoons, maybe close to that, of oil into the pan, and I'm going to heat that up until it's almost smoking. I want it really hot, so that's I'm putting it on high for a minute. This is an electric stove. Now, it's really going to be hot when it hits the pan. That's what we want. Okay, I'm just going to stir that, make sure the the spices are. So here I go. I'm looking at my oil, and so you can leave it depending. Now, if you have a gas stove, it may take a little longer, but you want your oil nice and hot. Okay. And now you're going to add your eggs all at once, and your fork is there. It's ready. Everything is nearby. We have our cheese nearby, our plate, our fork, our bowl, and we're going to add a little butter at the end and melt it in. So this is quite hot. It's starting to smoke. I'm going to put my eggs in now. Okay, and now I'm shaking my pan and stirring. You see that? And it's... Now, I like that it's moist, but it's not liquidy, and it's uniform custard, as they say. So I've taken it off the heat now. I'm going to leave this on fairly high because I might give it some more heat. Now, the next step, get rid of this. The next step is to put your filling in a line, not with the handle, but opposite, this way. Okay, so do that. And you can take your time now. It's off the heat. And it's already, just from the residual heat of the pan, it's firm on that side. Now, I didn't stir in the butter. You don't need to do that, but we can do something later I'll show you that adds a buttery flavor. I didn't use quite all that. You don't want to overstuff your omelet. Now, I'm going to tilt my pan. All right, you see I'm tilting my pan so the handle is up at quite a steep angle. I'm now going to slip my fork under this part of the egg and give it a flip. You see that? Now I can just pat this down, kind of shape it. There's a little part that didn't fold, so I'm just going to shape it with my fork. I want to see that it's nice and even. And now I've made one fold, and I'm going to make another fold. I can actually slide the omelet down so it's a little curved and flip it over. And I'm also going to shape it. Now this is lightly browned because the pan was so hot. Some people don't like it lightly brown. If you don't like it lightly brown, then you have to move a little faster and get your filling in quicker. So I'm going to give it a little heat just to melt the cheese. Now, but the cheese will melt because it's sealed in there and steam builds up and it gets very hot. Okay, so there it is. I'm tilting my pan. I'm still tilting my pan, you see? Now, I'm taking my plate. I'm going to turn this off. We don't need it anymore. I'm taking my plate, and I'm taking the pan, and look at my grip. It's underhand. Now, let me see if you can you see that? It's underhand. Now, I'm lifting it up. I have the plate. I put the lip of the far end from the handle against the edge of the plate, and I'm tilting my plate. I'm tilting my pan. I bring them together, and I flip the pan over onto the plate. And there it is. So now, I told you I forgot to put the butter in. You can, maybe I'll make it again and you can see. But what you can do is you can take some soft butter, and actually, this is something that fancy restaurants sometimes do because it makes it glossy and attractive, but it's also adding buttery flavor. Okay, so there's your omelet, and you always want to put some salt on. If you're gonna, you can do this out in the dining room, of course. You know, each person might want a little bit less salt or a little bit more salt. And then fresh ground pepper is wonderful, if you like it. So there it is, folks. Okay, so that's about it. Now, I'm going to demonstrate again using the cast iron pan. Right, there's your omelet. Take a look. Very nice. Now, if it's not shaped perfectly, you can actually manipulate it when it's on the plate a little bit. Like maybe I want it a little more curved. Or just even. I want it even so it looks really attractive. Now, of course, it'll taste the same, but I come from a restaurant background, so and often you'd garnish this, right? You might put chopped parsley on top in a restaurant, or a little bunch of parsley, right? And you might have some toast on the side. It's nice to eat an omelet with toast. Okay, so I'm going to do this again to show you once more. And I'm going to let my pan heat up. I have some oil in there already. And so I've got it on high. Now that's a cast iron pan. It's much thicker. And we're going to try doing this with 2 eggs. So again, tap, tap. There it is. And tap, tap. Okay. And we're going to take the whisk it up. All right, remember that way of doing it like this, underhand. Same way you held the omelet pan when you flipped it onto the plate. And you're moving your wrist. Oh, you can't see that, can you? You're moving your wrist like this, in a circle. And that way you don't get fatigued. Oh, this pan is getting very hot. Okay, so we are, all right, now I'm going to take that off so it doesn't get too hot. And we're going to add our nutmeg. Now this is 2 eggs, so you might want a little less nutmeg than before, a third less or so, because it's 2/3 of what you made before. There's always math in cooking. And a pinch of cayenne pepper. Okay. And we're going to put this back on the burner. And we're going to just stir that in. And we have our fork ready. And our pan is hot. I wish this was a little more level because all the oil goes to one side. Okay, here we go. And again, stir and shake. Stir and shake. Go around the edges. Stir and shake. And there we have it. I take it off the heat once it's where I like it. Sometimes it sticks to the sides, as this did. I'm going to put my cheese in. I have a little more cheese here. Put my cheese in. It's the same thing as it did before. All right, and this pan is a little hotter in the handle, so I'm grabbing a pot holder. The other one handle was cool. Now I'm tilting away, just the same. Getting under the egg, flipping it. I'm tucking it, making sure it's even. It's a nice shape. It's not folded more this way and narrow here and wide there. I'm trying to get it even. So I'll make a little crease there. I'm tilting and I'm getting under and flipping it. There's not as much as a lip, but you now see how I shape that into follow the curve of the pan. You see that? I might give it a little more heat. It's about the cheese. And now remember, I'm going to go underhand. Underhand, hold your plate. Turn that off. Hold your plate. Bring them together like this. Where the omelet is, on the outside of your pan, away from the handle, opposite your hand that's holding the plate, like this. And then I'm simply going to flip it onto the plate, like that. And there you have it. Okay, so again, oh, I forgot to put the butter in again. The butter, you know, if you want to do it in butter, you can try doing it in butter, but there's always the danger that the butter will burn or brown. But here I'm adding the butter like that. Here we have a little crease in there. I don't like that, but it'll still taste good. So there it is, folks. Your 2-egg omelet in a smaller cast iron pan. It works perfectly. Okay? Very good. So that's about it, folks. Here I am. I'm glad that you watched this video if you did. And obviously you wouldn't be hearing this if you didn't. So enjoy your omelet making, and maybe you can make it for your family sometime. And do let me know by email whether you watched this. If you can't do it for whatever reason, you'll probably need, some of you will need, or all of you will need adult supervision. If you can't manage it, then at least watch it. And when we get back together, we'll do it together in the kitchen. Okay, signing off. Jesse signing off, Meadows School. Bye-bye. Sayonara.